Okay, so before we start the interviewee has already agreed on the interview to be recorded and also for it to be uploaded on YouTube. Okay, so to start off, can you
Dibayar
please
500.
introduce yourself? Can you tell me a bit about the publishing company you founded, what kind of books you focus on, and how long you've been operating?
Ya, jadi aku pakai bahasa Indonesia nggak apa-apa.
Nggak apa.
Jadi gua itu punya publisher company namanya Popis Dream. Itu 3 tahun lalu kita bikinnya. Jadi pertanyaan apa?
Um,
Apa yang
what kind of books you focus on?
Oke. Kita tuh jualan guide journal sekarang. Cuman ongoing kita bakal masuk juga ke buku-buku self-help, buku-buku bacaan semacam itu sih gitu.
What first drew you to the idea of starting a publishing company rather than working with an existing publisher or entering another creative industry?
Kalau alasan kenapa bikin awalnya sebenarnya kayak as simple as karena kita Popis Dream kan, buku-buku kita tuh awalnya kita bikin buku karena kita ngerasa kenapa sih orang tuh gak berani bermimpi gitu. And then kita did some research kecil-kecilan, ternyata mungkin orang tuh nggak ngerti aja, nggak tahu mimpinya apa. That's why kita bikin guide jurnal pertama namanya The Book of Dreams. Tapi kalau pertanyaannya kenapa kita nggak kerja sama publisher lain, karena nggak cuan, karena royalty kalau kita kerja sama orang lain tuh kita cuma dapat 8-12% dari revenue gitu. Sedangkan kita ngerasa kayak kalau kita bikin buku sendiri marginnya lebih tebal, doable juga, terus why not kita bikin sendiri, and then bisa-bisa aja gitu loh.
Okay. Can you walk me through how you identify your niche of target audience in the publishing world?
Nah, sebenarnya tuh jujur kita nggak mikirin kayak waktu kita mulai Popis Dream kita nggak ngelakuin feasibility study, market research, kita nentuin target enggak gitu, karena berangkat dari pain point study gitu. Kenapa banyak orang nggak berani bermimpi gitu, dan kita bikin produk kayak jadi objektifnya waktu itu lebih ke solve sebuah problem, tapi tiba-tiba marketnya kebentuk aja gitu loh. Gitu
Okay.
sih.
What were some of the most surprising or unexpected lessons you learned in the early stage of launching the company?
Mungkin lesson learn terbesar gue di delegation kali ya, belajar untuk ngedelegate, karena waktu tahun pertama gue perusahaan ini kan masih kecil kan, timnya juga masih 2 orang, sangat micromanage, karena gue perfeksionis, semuanya harus detail lalala, bikin gue nggak percaya untuk kasih tugas ke orang, dan ujung-ujungnya nyusahin gue dan bikin tim gue tidak berkembang gitu. Jadi delegating kali ya, itu sih lesson learn-nya.
What kind of support, mentorship, partnerships, or industry connections was most helpful when you were getting started?
Ini fun fact, gue tuh nggak ada mentorship, jadi udah 3 tahun gue nggak ada mentor. Cuman gue punya teman-teman yang di bisnis juga gitu. Waktu lulus SBM kita bareng-bareng bisnis, dan gue treat mereka tuh sebagai accountability partner. Jadi sama-sama nge-push, sama-sama belajar dari mana, terus kayak saling share. Itu sih yang life changing buat bisnis anak-anak, dan lucunya kita bareng-bareng maju gitu. Yang bareng-bareng dari nol sekarang semua alhamdulillah bisnis jalan semua gitu sih.
What did a typical week look like during your first year running the business, and how has that routine evolved as the company has grown?
Dulu awal tadi karena ini kayak musik ya. Karena tadi aku bilang nggak pernah delegate, sangat micromanage. First year enggak, 3 bulan pertama ya, gue ngelakuin semuanya, even sampai packing, operation, marketing, literally semuanya. Kayak nggak ada waktu untuk ngelakuin hal-hal lain gitu. Tapi perusahaannya maju-maju banget juga enggak gitu kan. Nah, kalau sekarang gue fokus ke hal-hal yang krusial aja. As a CEO, gue belajar untuk helicopter view gitu, untuk ngerjain 1-2 hal, tapi yang paling penting hal-hal yang bisa didelegate harus didelegate gitu, karena otak gue harus mikir panjang kan, long visionnya kayak gimana gitu loh. Jadi itu membantu sih gitu sih.
What role did hiring and building a team play in your company's growth? And how did your approach finding the right people for a publishing environment?
Kalau di Popis kita tuh punya Nggak, semua perusahaan mungkin punya sistem probation kali ya. Cuman yang gue baru terapin dan seems work itu ketika probation kan biasanya 3 bulan. Nah di Popis tuh dulu kita tuh sering dicepet-cepetin karena gue kayak probation cuma buat bikin gaji orang nggak langsung bayar full deh. And then ternyata gue baru tahu kalau misalnya probation tuh seberpengaruh itu, sekrusial itu karena saat probation kita tuh gini, strateginya adalah saat probation kita harus tempelin terus si orang yang baru masuk ini. That way kita jadi tahu orang ini bisa kerja untuk kita atau enggak. Nah, salah gue dulu tuh adalah gue nggak tempelin orangnya, jadi gimana gue tahu gitu kan. Terus sekarang gara-gara gue tempelin, jadi after 3 months itu bener-bener call-nya apakah orang ini lanjut atau enggak dan harus tegas gitu loh. Ketika dia lanjut berarti udah nggak ada masalah lagi, berarti orang ini bener-bener fit karena gue udah 3 bulan udah tempelin dia, gue udah ngajarin dia semuanya, gue udah kenal dia lah. Kayak gitu sih paling. Apa tadi ya pertanyaan dulu?
Udah benar. Yes, right. Okay, and now that you've been through the journey of launching and growing a publishing company, what kind of person or mindset do you think is best suited to succeed in this type of industry?
What kind of person of mindset? Mungkin bisnis entrepreneur in general kali ya. Ini susah dibacain, cuman yang berani mencet tombol banyak, ngerti gak?
Ngerti.
Apa dong?
Someone who's a risk taker.
Risk taker, mencet tombol banyak aja udah, berani coba. Karena gue banyak banget nemuin orang yang bisnisnya berhasil, pintar banget enggak, tapi dia mencet tombol banyak aja, coba ini, coba itu, akhirnya jadi gitu. Dan banyak juga yang pintar, yang lebih mungkin jago atau apa, cuman karena dia gak banyak mencet tombol, akhirnya gitu-gitu aja. Gitu sih.
So as we're on the topic of banyak mencet tombol, are you planning on opening any other businesses, and why did you choose that specific business?
Yes, aku sebenarnya dapat mindset baru realize itu tuh se-important itu tuh tahun lalu. Jadi gue ngerasa gue tuh tipe orang yang bisnis satu aja terus gue fokus gitu. Popis Dream kan. Terus pas realize kalau misalnya pentingnya mencet tombol banyak, gue akhirnya planning buka bisnis baru, tapi tetap gue manage. Gak bisa bisnis yang guanya terlibat involve secara direct gitu loh. Terus akhirnya sekarang gue pengen bikin lapangan padel sih, karena sekarang lagi seksi banget marketnya, bisnisnya, and then lumayan apa ya, automate kali ya, nggak harus kayak kita kerjain, bisa ditinggal lah, bisa ditinggal. Jadi harapannya di situ bisa jadi passive income juga sih gitu. Sama gue lagi nyoba ngonten sih. Apakah itu bisnis lah ya, personal branding gitu. Follow ya.
Okay, thank you Kak.
Thank you.
Okay, so before we start the interview, do you agree to be interviewed?
Yeah, sure.
And you agree to be recorded and the video will be put on YouTube? Okay, so right now I am here with a young businessman, and you can first start by introducing yourself and your different types of businesses.
All right. Hi everyone. So my name is Algi, and I think and I wish I could continue my businesses, but right now I own a sushi restaurant. I own 2 paddle clubs. I have an event organizer, and I have like small shops for apparel.
Okay, so I see you're pretty diverse. You have F&B, you have sports, and you also have an event. Out of all 3, which one do you think is the most difficult and why?
I think each business sector have their own challenges, but the most difficult one, personally for me, I think is the event organizer, because there's so many things to prepare and to handle, and there's the deadline
Okay.
to finish it on time.
Can you go into more detail of what type of events you usually make?
So my event organizer name is Ladang Selatan, if you know. We organize a football tournament, youth football tournament in between high school students. If you know DBL, it's actually like DBL but soccer version, yeah, football version. And why is it hard? Because I need to handle and monitoring all of the sectors, like from the events, from the logistics, from the venue, and a lot more to be on time. And there's so many people inside. That's why it's hard to manage.
Are you leading the team or are you working with someone else to lead it?
Actually, I made it by myself at
that's
first,
really
but at the end, because I can't survive alone, I end up recruiting someone to become my vice.
Oh, okay. I feel like making a football event is pretty unique. How did you come up with the idea? What inspired you? And how did you, like, when you started, did you immediately make a big event or did you start small, things like that?
It was a long journey for sure, but yeah. So first, it's only for school, but we made it in Stadion Madia. It's a big venue for a first event, and out of my expectation, there's like 800 people watching.
Only 4 schools, but 800
Yeah,
people
that's why.
watching?
Yeah, that's why.
Wow.
So in the next year, we moved to like a more compact venue. If you know PSF, Pancoran Soccer Field. There's 8 school there, and it multiple by 2 the visitor. It's around 8,800.
So I understand you work with a lot of people. What type of issues have you faced with working with that many people?
So many.
And also, how did you solve them?
I've met so many types of people in this business sector. I've met like the greedy one, I've met like the cocky one, I've met the humble one. But at the end, we should know like how to face each person. There's there's so many type of people in this business sector. I've met them like not once, but maybe a lot of times. Yeah, a lot of times. But at the end, I've known that I have to face them wisely and with patience, so they could push their ego down, and then I could talk properly to them.
So I understand that you started the event organizer from scratch. What do you wish you know now? But like, if you had to do it all over again, what type of knowledge do you wish that you had?
All right. So I wish the RAB, rancangan anggaran biaya, was more proper and more structured. So when there's the RAP, rancangan anggaran pelaksanaan, it could be more easy to look. So I can know there's the gap in between the budget.
Oh yeah, okay. Wow, so that's really interesting. Okay, what if we change the topic a bit and talk about your F&B? Do you also run that alone, or
No.
are you?
So actually it's called Shaggy Sushi, which means Saka and algae sushi.
Okay.
Saka is my brother actually, and then yeah, I'm his younger brother. And why did we open a sushi bar? At first, we actually want to open like a warkop, fancy warkop, if you know. But after we do the countings, I think it's more appropriate and it's more. The money is bigger if we open a sushi restaurant.
I feel like there are a lot of sushi restaurants already in Jakarta. What do you think is your unique selling point for Shaggy?
All right. So our place is actually not that big.
Okay.
But our sushi quality is very, very good. It could be compared like to the other sushi restaurant in South Jakarta, but we drag down our price. We drag down the price, so that's why we have the same quality as the other sushi restaurant, but the price is lower.
So if I may ask, is it's a bit hard to find good sushi suppliers, right? Did you find it by yourself? Did you research by yourself, or did you like, was it like mouth to mouth type of situation?
All right, to be honest, this is a business secret,
Secret?
I could say, but we hire a consultant.
Oh, you hired a consultant.
So
Oh,
they
okay.
so they contact the supplier, and then we can pick the best grade of sushi, the best grade of fish we want.
Would you say that hiring a consultant is more effective when you want to open a new business?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Why would you?
Because we can get more insight and we can get more feedback about it,
Okay.
about the business sector.
Okay, so for the last question, out of all three, which one are you most passionate about?
I could say maybe for now, because the paddle sport is growing in Indonesia, in around the world. So I think it's more easier to gain the market and customers. But in this F&B, I could say it's already like a bit settled right now. But in this event organizer, there's still so many challenges that I have to face and done it.
So you actually also make events for paddle?
Yes,
Yes. Do you think it's more challenging to make events for paddle or for football?
it's way more easier paddle.
Paddle's much
Yeah,
more easier?
yeah.
Is it because you also have the place?
I think so.
Yeah?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.